Hi, it's Brett Culp. It wasn't that long ago on the calendar that we were together at the event for the American Nurses Credentialing Center, and I was honored to be a keynote speaker at that event. You have been on my mind over the past month with everything going on with this current crisis, and I wanted to share a few words from my heart and share some thoughts that might be helpful to you as you try to navigate this time with your team. Before I share any of that, I just want to acknowledge that it's very possible that today you are carrying a heaviness in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit that's more than you've ever carried in your life. There is so much going on right now that is heavy and that we're grieving. Each one of us, so many of us are grieving. And there have been many losses and difficulties right now. And I know how much you are carrying. And you may be finding yourself right now, you're standing in the shower and you find yourself crying. Or, in a moment that should be no big deal, you find yourself having an emotional outburst or, yelling or feeling very unsettled and unnerved or having trouble sleeping, or maybe you find yourself clenching your steering wheel harder than ever before. I just want to acknowledge that that's normal and it's very human. And right now we are dealing with things that are unprecedented. And that, I think, is affecting us at ways that we haven't even been able to acknowledge in the core of our being. And it's okay. It's okay that you feel that way. And I'm sorry that you feel that way. But it's normal and it's okay to grieve that. And I hope that as you're working to take care of your physical body and keep that healthy, that you will also create some space for your emotional health and your mental health, to create space to talk about all these things in a healthy, open way, and to receive any care that you might need for that. I hope you don't go through that alone. I don't want you to. And I just want to say right now that you're loved and appreciated for everything you're doing and the sacrifices that you're making right now for all of us. Okay, let me share a couple of thoughts that may be helpful for you. One, this is a time to celebrate the small victories. Very often we only celebrate the big milestones, the big things that happen, but this is a moment to celebrate everything, all the good stuff. Because you know that sometimes even these small things right now that we're accomplishing, they're taking a lot of effort and a lot of courage and a lot of boldness to make them happen. So it's good to celebrate them, to stop and make time to tell those stories in your own heart and as you share them with your teams and the people that you work with. I also think this is a time to stay open to giant leaps, bold steps. Very often change is incremental, and growth, we want it to happen slowly over time. But the world, this has been a shock to our system, what's happening all around us. And I think we're going to need to stay open to making bold moves. Even though it may feel uncomfortable, though we may feel resistance, this is a time where we have to be ready to take those bold steps and those giant leaps. And I hope you'll keep your heart open to that and be ready for it. Also, I think this is a moment where we need to stay focused on your epic journey. It's normal for us to walk into a 90-minute movie and enjoy that. We walk out of the theater having seen the beginning, the middle, and the end in less than 2 hours, and that's a good feeling. But right now we're going through something that just isn't going to be resolved that fast. It's much more like reading a series of 9 novels that tells one long story over a bunch of books. We're not going to get the results we want as quickly as we want. And sometimes that's heartbreaking, because sometimes the losses that we endure over that time, they can seem like they're too much to bear. I understand that, and I'm sorry for that. But I think for all of us right now, for you in your career, it was never about 1 week or 1 month or even 1 year. It was always about the impact that you were making over time. And I think now more than ever, we got to keep that kind of focus, seeing the long term, the long game of the impact that we're making and holding space for all that future positive possibility, that space for hope, that belief that there is good ahead for all of us. And even though things might not feel okay right now, that they will be okay. They will be okay. There's good ahead for all of us. When we were together, I shared this idea of starlight, and that stars up in the night sky, they shine through the darkness. They shine their light through the darkness for years, decades, sometimes even centuries, before that light finally arrives in the night sky to inspire us. And that's the nature of your work. You are starlight, shining through darkness, unwavering in your course, till you arrive at that beautiful destination. To end this video, I want to share a clip with you from a speech that I gave before the coronavirus happened, before we were dealing with this crisis, to a room full of nurses. And I hope that this message that you will allow it to work deep in your heart, and acknowledge the truth about who you are and the work that you're doing every day and the difference it makes. Thanks for being a hero. Thanks for being you. Here's the truth. You are starlight. You are starlight. Shining through darkness, often feeling lost, often feeling alone, often feeling you will never arrive at your destination. And yet one day, you do. And some fool like me looks up at the night sky and says, wow, wow. And you're like, where were you in those double shifts? In those dark moments, in those difficult times where I felt so alone, where everything felt so hard and so difficult. I wish I could tell you that in every moment you will see the result and the impact of your work, but you won't. Because the reality is, stars don't get thank you notes. From all the dreamers and travelers and musicians and young people they have inspired for centuries, they never hear that. The difficult truth is that the greatest impact you will ever make in your entire profession, you'll probably never hear that story. No one will think to come back and tell you how what you said and what you did in that moment, that when everything seemed wrong and everything seemed ruined and everything felt broken, how what you did changed everything. They may not even realize or remember that you did it, but it happened. It happened. And that is why it's so important to hold space for hope, even when everything feels wrong. Why it's so important to stay anchored to your meaningful mission, even when the winds and the waves are all over you. Why it's so important, even when you feel that everything's wrong, to keep going. Your work matters. Your life matters. Keep fighting. For there are galaxies within you. You are filled with wonder and magic, songs and light. So, my friends, keep shining. Keep shining.